Think about the last time you sat with absolutely nothing to do. No phone, no music, no conversation, just you and the silence. If that image makes you even slightly uncomfortable, you are in the majority. Most people find sustained silence nearly unbearable. They reach for distractions within seconds because stillness feels like something has gone wrong. Society reinforces this constantly. Silence is awkward. Wanting to be alone means something is off. If you're not busy, you are falling behind. But psychology tells a very different story. The ability to sit comfortably in silence is not a social defect. It is one of the clearest indicators of advanced emotional regulation. And if this comes naturally to you, there are 6 specific markers of emotional maturity you almost certainly carry without realizing it. Before we get to those markers, it is worth understanding why silence feels so threatening. We live in a culture built on constant stimulation, notifications, content feeds, background noise at every turn. Over time, this trains the nervous system to interpret stillness as a signal that something is missing. But there is a deeper layer. Attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby, shows that our earliest relationships shape how we handle both closeness and distance throughout life. People with insecure attachment patterns often struggle with silence because it activates a deep fear of abandonment or disconnection. Silence feels like being left. So they feel it, they talk, they scroll, they keep moving. Not because they want to, but because stopping feels unsafe. If you can sit in that quiet without needing to escape, something fundamentally different is happening in your psychology. 1, you have a high tolerance for emotional discomfort. This connects directly to a concept called distress tolerance, the capacity to experience difficult internal states without immediately reacting to make them stop. Most people treat discomfort as an emergency. The moment boredom or unease appears, they reach for something to neutralize it. A phone, a conversation, anything to break the tension. But if you can remain in silence without flinching, your nervous system has learned something important. Discomfort is not danger. You can hold tension without collapsing into it or running from it. This is one of the core skills taught in dialectical behavior therapy, precisely because most people never develop it naturally. You did not just learn to sit in quiet. You learn to sit with yourself when nothing else is there to soften the experience. 2, you do not need external validation to feel emotionally settled. Many people depend on conversation, social feedback, or constant interaction just to feel like they are okay. Silence strips all of that away. When no one is reflecting your worth back to you, all that remains is your own internal sense of self. If you can sit in that space and still feel steady, it points to what psychologist Murray Bowen described as self-differentiation, the ability to maintain a clear sense of identity without depending on other people to regulate your emotional state. People with low differentiation feel anxious or lost the moment they are alone. People with high differentiation carry their own weight. Silence is one of the most honest tests of where someone falls on that spectrum. Here is where it gets interesting. 3, you have learned to be present without performing. In most settings, even private ones, people are unconsciously managing a performance, adjusting how they appear, monitoring perception, curating responses. Silence removes the stage entirely. No audience, no script, no role. For many people, that is deeply unsettling because without the performance, they are not sure who they actually are. If silence feels natural to you, it means your identity does not depend on external context to hold together. You are not performing presence. You are simply present. That sounds like a small distinction, but it reflects a psychological stability that many people spend their entire lives searching for. 4. Your nervous system has learned to regulate without external input. This is where the biology matters. When you sit in silence and your body stays calm, your autonomic nervous system is not reading stillness as a threat. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory describes what is called ventral vagal activation, a physiological state linked to safety, groundedness, and calm. People who constantly need stimulation are often stuck in sympathetic arousal, where the body stays quietly braced for danger that is not actually there. If you can sit in silence and feel your body genuinely settle, it is one of the strongest signals that your system has learned to rest without remaining on guard. But this goes deeper. 5. You are not afraid of what your own mind produces. This is where most people misunderstand silence. The discomfort is rarely about the quiet itself. It is about what rises when the noise stops. Unprocessed emotions, painful memories, a critical inner voice that gets louder without distractions to drown it out. Many people avoid silence because they do not want to face what lives beneath the surface. If you can sit with your thoughts without needing to suppress or escape them, you have built something that mindfulness research consistently links to long-term psychological well-being. The ability to observe your inner experience without being overtaken by it. That is not passive. It is one of the most demanding forms of emotional skill a person can develop. 6. You understand that real connection does not require constant words. There is a specific maturity in sitting with another person in complete silence and feeling no pressure to feel it. Many people rate quiet moments in relationships as distance or disinterest, but emotionally mature individuals know that presence does not always need language. Some of the deepest intimacy lives in the pauses, in moments when nothing needs to be said, because the connection is already felt. When two people share silence without anxiety, it reflects what attachment researchers describe as a secure bond, one where closeness does not need to be constantly proven. If that kind of quiet togetherness comes naturally to you, it says something real about the emotional safety you create. And this is where most people misunderstand silence entirely. It is not emptiness. It is a mirror. It reflects your relationship with discomfort, with yourself, with the people closest to you. The fact that you can sit in it without running tells a specific story about your emotional development. Somewhere along the way, you learned what many people spend years in therapy trying to reach. You are enough without the noise. That does not make you superior to anyone, but it does mean you carry something uncommon. In a world that constantly pulls attention outward, you have found a way to remain settled inside yourself. That is not coldness. That is not detachment. It is one of the quietest and most powerful forms of emotional strength a person can develop. So let me leave you with one question worth sitting with. When did silence stop being something you avoided and start being something you chose? I would genuinely like to hear your answer. Leave it in the comments. Not for the algorithm, but because this conversation deserves something real.